Smoke plumes hang over Tehran as missiles fall for a 10th consecutive day. Israel says it's striking the Iranian capital with unprecedented force. We continue striking and depriving the skills of producing and launching missiles of the Iranian regime, he says. On these moments, IDF fighter jets are deepening the blow in the area of Tehran. The Israeli military says airports across Iran have been hit, and Evin prison, where political prisoners are held, was targeted. It also launched its own attack on the Fordow nuclear site, one of 3 Iranian nuclear facilities bombed by the US over the weekend. Afterwards, contrary to his administration's earlier message, President Trump appeared to call for a change in the Iranian leadership. In a social media post, he said, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" Iran says the US will face regrettable and unpredictable consequences for entering the war.
Gambler Trump, you can start this war, but we will be the ones who end it.
This morning, Iran's retaliation was felt across Israel, including in the southern city of Ashdod. Around 8,000 people are without power. So far, no casualties have been reported. Meanwhile, Iran's response is being discussed in Russia, where President Vladimir Putin is meeting with the Iranian foreign minister. What happens next is as unpredictable as President Trump's rhetoric. Carrie Davis, ITV News.
CNN's Fred Pleitgen is in Tehran and has just sent this.
So we've just witnessed a massive airstrike here on the area of sort of northern central Tehran. We actually went downstairs into a shelter once we heard planes overhead, and then we heard explosions. You can see now the sky over the northwest of Tehran is completely filled with smokes. It seemed to us as though it were several really, really strong impacts that took place. And if we look over to the left here, you can see the smoke seems to be emanating from that area. That's more towards the west of Iran, the sort of northwest of Tehran, of the Iranian capital. This is the first time since we've been here that we've seen a heavy airstrike like this in the fairly central part of the city. So we're only going to be able to be up here for not much longer, but this is definitely something that I wouldn't say is unprecedented, but it's definitely something that we haven't seen in the past couple of days. Coming, of course, exactly after the Trump administration struck those nuclear facilities, and the Iranians are vowing revenge for that. Of course, the Israelis also continuing their air campaign. And right now, as you can see, the skies over Tehran filled with thick black smoke.
CNN's Fred Pleitgen reporting there from the capital of Iran, Tehran. Let's get analysis now from our political correspondent Harry Horton, who is in Westminster this lunchtime, and from our international editor Emma Murphy, who's in Erbil in northern Iraq, which borders Iran. Harry, if I can start with you, what is the latest this lunchtime from Downing Street on this?
Well, the UK government says it is focused on diplomacy and on helping British nationals who are in the region who want to leave. The government is hoping to put on evacuation flights from Tel Aviv. They're expected to depart in the next few days, if not the next few hours, for any British national in the region who's registered with the Foreign Office. It's quite significant that the UK has been careful in the last few days, in the last few hours, to explicitly avoid saying it supports the action that the US took over the weekend. A Downing Street spokesperson did say at this lunchtime that the prevention of Iran getting a nuclear weapon is a good thing. The word that the Prime Minister keeps using is de-escalation. He's used that a lot in the last 10 days or so in phone calls with world leaders. But the reality is that the opposite has happened. The situation has escalated quite dramatically. It's not clear whether those calls are having much influence, but that is the message the Prime Minister is keen to keep pushing.
De-escalation is really important now. That's our focus, because the conflict could escalate in the region and it could have an impact on our domestic economy.
And Harry, what is the government most worried about when it comes to that point that he was making there, the Prime Minister, about the economy?
Well, it's the price of oil. It rose today to its highest level in almost 6 months before falling back again slightly. There's real concern that Iran may try and shut down shipping lanes in the Middle East, which more than a quarter of the world's oil passes through. Now, that may not happen, but you will recall that after Russia invaded Ukraine more than 3 years ago, there was a significant impact on energy prices here in the UK. There's real concern that that could happen again. And one other concern is about the prospect of increased defence spending, something the Prime Minister is expected to set out in the next few days. And of course, that means a squeeze on other public services back here in the UK.
Harry, thank you very much. Let's go live to Emma now and talk us through, with everything that we've heard in the past 24, 48 hours, what you think might happen now.
Well, I think what this whole region is watching for at this point is the Iranian response, which they are very adamant will come, and is something that they say that they are trying to work out quite how they do that. Now, I think the reality is you will see, and indeed have seen during the course of this morning, more attacks on Israel. I think Iran will see that as fair game. They are being hit by Israel. They will hit back. Their calculation will be what they do in terms of the United States, because, of course, they were United States bombers that hit the nuclear sites over the course of the weekend. So the big calculus for Iran is whether or not they will go directly for an American target for retribution, and whether or not that risks bringing America further into this conflict, and whether that therefore really escalates the situation from an Iranian point of view. I think there is very great concern around this region that they could see attacks on US assets, US bases like the ones that we have here, but also on things like the Strait of Hormuz, where, of course, the oil passes through. Just to kind of bring you up to date on the last couple of minutes developments, we've had a message from the US Embassy in Qatar ordering Americans there to shelter in place. That's incredibly unusual and tends to be as a result of some kind of direct threat intelligence. They say that it's out of abundance of caution, but it will really send a little bit of a jitter around this whole area as they wonder what exactly that is based upon. And then Harry was talking about the calls for de-escalation that have only seen escalation. We've had the Chinese get involved today, again calling for de-escalation, particularly in terms of the Strait of Hormuz, because, of course, they do not want to see the place where they get 43% of their oil from start to be closed down. And that is something that is shared with the rest of the world as they try and work out what the knock-on the economics globally will be of this conflict.